Wow, it is a weekend afternoon, and I'm here joined by an esteemed guest, Mr. Sloop
Hello.
himself, the
Hello,
Sloopdoop.
everybody. I am the Sloopdoop, apparently. Apparently Saint is a huge fan of mine, so I'm very happy to be here. I very much enjoy this man's content as well.
Yep.
So I'm very happy to be here talking with you. This is very exciting for me.
So the feeling's absolutely mutual. I think I've seen at least every single piece of your content you've released in the past 60 days. I might have missed a few in the early days, but I really respect what you do. I respect your enthusiasm. And I mean, I felt I just had to reach out. You had that call to action just, I think it was a week or two ago or a week and a half ago. You're like, hey, I'm going through some stuff myself. And,
Mhm.
it was really raw. It was real. And I was just like, I got to reach out. I got to say something. I got to tell him he's doing well. So here we are.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Yeah, when I made that video, I'd been thinking about it for quite a while because like in the video, I kind of explained I've been pretty lonely lately, and I've just been dealing with quite a bit. And I thought that maybe just sharing that story and opening up a little bit because I feel like what brings people together more than anything, even more than Flesh and Blood itself, is stories. When we can connect over a shared experience or just knowing that somebody else feels the same way that you do or similarly, like it can be very comforting to know you're not alone in that regards.
Absolutely, yes. I felt the exact same way because I don't know if you saw the piece from Thanksgiving, but
Mhm.
James had recorded a 5 minute clip. He was on lockdown and I mean, it looked like he wasn't getting enough sleep and he was stressed out like hell, which, CEOs tend to be in that situation. But he just, he told that story about his mentor and the challenges that his mentor went through. And I was like, this guy really knows how to tell stories. This guy, he's a storyteller. That's why he's running Legend Story Studios. And I was
Exactly.
just like, my hat goes off to him. And it was literally such a challenge. Like, in my team, Ada, Yuenji, and I, we talked about what stories to put forth between Ada and myself. And then the the strangest part, and I didn't expect it. I was just like, wow, we gotta go from the heart. We got to dig deep and see what's in our history, what we can share with our audience, because we'd like to match that level of energy. And then offline, behind the scenes, James saw the video. He's like, "Wow, that what you told the viewers about your mentor Keith, that was super powerful as well." And I mean, I saw yours as well, and I was like, "Hey, let's reach out to Sir Sloop and see what's going on, see what we can do together." So, are you feeling better now? A little bit?
Honestly, yeah, my life ever since that video, actually, like it was weird because I was very nervous about putting it out. Like whenever you're talking, I didn't go in depth about my past or anything because I don't think strangers on the internet need to know everything about your life history.
Of course, of course.
But the reaction to it was overwhelmingly positive. Like everybody was very open. They even said that they connected with the story a little bit. They understood how I felt and they felt that same way themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it was just like a step in the right direction because I've really been struggling, with deciding exactly what I want my channel to be. I know that it's going to kind of be all over the place because I'm a creative person. I like to do a bunch of different things, but I really want to make it a place where I can be real and honest and raw with people.
Mm-hmm.
And I take a lot of inspiration from this, not only like, well, from yourself, as you said, you've told your stories and been open and honest with people. But Rudy is another person that I really admire for that
Of
because,
course.
my favorite videos from him are when he just sits down and gives life talk or just advice or just, talks about how he feels about things because
Mm-hmm.
they're honest, raw videos. And I always find that every time I watch one, I learn something new or I get a different perspective. And it just, you always get something of value out of a story. And so that's kind of what I want to add to my channel and start focusing on.
Of course. Yeah, you mentioned Rudy. We're friends. We've become personal friends in this past year, and we've done. I wouldn't call it collaborations. I'm just like a fly on the wall, in front of his grandness and his genius. But we've been there for a couple of really cool openings. We played some
Mhm.
Magic together. We opened some Fab together, and Rudy
Yeah.
really is. He's powerful and he's influential. And I probably wouldn't have gone back to collecting Magic if I hadn't found Rudy. So it's really strange how we're all connected, right? And when you
Mhm.
sit and think about it, it's like, if not for Rudy, forget about me buying Fab or making content. I would not even have the cards that I have. I wouldn't I wouldn't collect Magic cards. I'd be doing some other stuff or collecting Flesh and Blood cards. It would have never gotten there. And who knows? Like you watched him too. It sounds like, and now you're developing your content. And just really quick, just to go back a little, just a minute. You had said you don't know the direction of your channel. I'll be honest with you. I'm facing the same thing. Like I started out just wanting to open boxes, and that was cool for a little bit. But then viewers, they want so much more. I was like, let me ask Mr. Sloopdoop. Like, he came up with Mr. Ribbits, and that's so cool, but that's not something I could get away with, you know? Like, I can't make, like, an evil investor saint or have, like, an alter ego. I just don't think I could pull it off, but it's so funny, and it's so engaging when you've got the, you know, when Mr. Ribbits comes out. I just gotta say.
I very much enjoy doing the character. He started out as he was just like the idea for him was he was a scalper. And by that, I don't mean like the general term. I specifically was thinking of, you ever see those videos of people going to Walmart and like Walmart or Target, and the moment that they open, they're rushing to the cart aisle and scooping all the product into their carts and just running off with all the Pokemon
and
cards.
Beating each other up and trampling other people to just try to get to the product.
Exactly. That was the very first inspiration for his character. Some people have told me I'm just trying to be Rudy with him, but it's like that actually wasn't the inspiration. It was he's like the anti-player. He says all the wrong things. All of his opinions are utterly crazy. And that's like the whole thing about him. It's just everything he says is wrong.
Yep.
And there's still some people that think the videos are serious. And I mean, like, I'm wearing a frog hat. I don't know what else I can really do, you know, to make it obvious that it's a joke. But
you're distinguishing the personas already. I mean, anybody with sense can get it within 30 seconds. Like, oh, E-Strike is completely bad, and then Command and Conquer, what the hell? What the hell is it? It's like, come on.
And when my reasonings are, you know, like Sink Below is a bad card because Flesh and Blood players are too dumb to make decisions. Like, I mean, and they're dumb because they play these cards. Like, the circular logic, it's like you'd think that people would pick up on that, but there are still a few who, you know, they don't, but you can't win them all.
Yeah, you can't. But I did want to say, just to credit you, Sloopdoop, that I think it was a week or week and a half ago. I forgot if it was before or after your very personal video, but you had this video where you were thinking, you took a step further and you said, why did James White make this game? Like, why does it have to be played in the Flesh and Blood? And I thought adjacent to that, I'm not trying to steal your thunder or take credit. I thought adjacent to that, but you dug in and you were like, I love the game. I really enjoy it, but now let me look at a big picture. Why does this game exist, and why is it this way? Why won't James White go digital? And you talked about, you know, although we're going to be on a social media network and very publicized, you know, on the internet, but why did he do this, and why is this the way? And you're like, because he's trying to separate people. He's trying to create a movement and this mindset of, you know what, let's just interact with one another face to face. And I mean, you did the content, so you know, you like took it a couple of steps further, and it was very thought provoking, man. It was really powerful. It was so much more powerful than like, how much is this card worth today, or, you know, something emojis to the moon, diamond hands, whatever. And it was really, really different. It was really, really different. I would say that your video plus the Rudy video about wealth, the disparity between wealthy and poor, those are probably two of the top 5 videos that I saw this year. And I mean, I consume a lot of content too, especially now as a content creator.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, that video came out just before my personal one, and it was kind of a lead into it. The personal one was to kind of follow it, because I think what really opened my eyes to what James White is doing is because it's kind of been a goal of mine even since I was a teenager. I remember even at like the age of 15, I started to realize I had this, you know, teenage relationship with a girl. It didn't go well, you know, most teenagers, it was pretty typical. But I remember it got to the point where she was giving me like one-word answers as texts. And I was recognizing that every time that happened, I felt miserable, and I always kept going to the negative. I always thought, oh, she hates me, even if it was just like she said okay. My brain would be like, oh, she hates you, she doesn't want to talk to you. And so at a very young age, I started becoming cognizant of that. And so as time has gone on, and I'm very I'm very inwards. I spend a lot of time in my own mind just thinking about how I feel, and I take like long walks pretty much every day, where I spend a lot of time just being present in my own mind and body. And so I've just become hyper aware of how awful social media really is and how badly it's set up to where it's truly, I think I like to use the phrase, it's melting people's brains,
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
it's in and it's that. And I also think, I haven't really talked about this much, I also think it's the food quality in a lot of the world. We
Hmm.
eat just so much processed food, and we don't realize just how bad it's actually getting for us.
Yep.
And that's something like I don't know if you know this about me, but I actually used to be obese, and I lost a ton of weight by learning about health and nutrition. And
Oh.
this is kind of what I was getting at with YouTube, is I learned it by watching scientists, doctors, and researchers lecture and do talks about their findings in health and nutrition.
Hmm.
And so that's the kind of stuff I've always liked to watch on YouTube. It's just, or like podcasts or conversations, interviews where I can, learn something. But that video I made, I was fairly certain I hit the nail on the head. And admittedly, I haven't actually spoken about this, but I actually got an email. I woke up to an email the next day from James White
Oh,
himself.
wow.
And he said one of his team members had shown him the video, and he confirmed that everything that I said was his goal.
Hmm.
And then he gave me kudos, for picking up on it, and gave me some unbelievable just advice and words of encouragement, which meant the world to me, because like I said, at that time I'd been feeling pretty down and rough on myself, and just I wasn't sure if what I was doing was impactful or meaningful, or if I was going to be able to continue to succeed, or even make it. And so that was a big kick in the ass, honestly. Like when you have somebody you really admire and is the CEO of this game that I love, the whole content that I'm making is all about this game.
Yeah.
And having him give me words of encouragement like that is such a kick in the ass. It's like I can't quit. Like there's no way now that I can quit, because it's just it's like, instead of having a dragon at my front where I'm too afraid to go forward, I've now got the dragon at my
He's
back.
pushing you.
Yeah, it's pushing me. I now.
He's like, what do I have to do? Do I have to drag you?
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's that video I think was my most impactful, and I think it's one that I'm probably going to always look back to, and probably be one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to make more in that style. I took a lot of inspiration just from Rudy, like I said, when he just plops the camera down and he just talks to you about a topic. It just the only thing is I edit it down a little bit. I try to cut out any unnecessary parts, or if I misspeak and I just restart what I was saying, I'll cut out that little bit. But I kind of like making those videos, which are a lot, like, they're less edited. They're more just, here's how I feel about something. It's, put in as much of an eloquent way as I can, as articulate as I can.
Yeah.
And
I mean, to be fair, I think Rudy's been doing this for like 7 or 8 years now, and really, really early on, when he wore his, work shirt and his tie and whatnot, he was overthinking, over editing. After he reached a certain threshold, call it like 150,000 viewers, he's like, screw it, whatever, I got this. If I screw up, I don't care. I'll just, improvise and make it work. And that's what happens when you hone your craft, because even this, creating content itself is a craft. And I mean, first off, just congratulations again on that outreach from James. Has he reached out personally? Has there been other points of contact in the past?
No, that was the very first time.
That was the very first time.
Like I even said in the video, I was like, I know he's probably never going to see it, and I meant that. I mean, the video, it didn't even do. I think it did all right, but it wasn't like it was one of my best videos ever. I think it's got like 5, maybe 600 views, so it's not like it's it's amazing. But
yeah,
I genuinely was just like, it's not like he's ever going to see this. I'm like, maybe there's like 1 or 2 people at LSS that watch some of my content, and that's probably it. So, but then, like I said, I literally woke up the next morning, 4:30 a.m., rolled over, grabbed my phone, and I'm like, oh, I just looked at my phone. I was like, well, I'm gonna take a bit of time to think about this before I respond. It's super early in the morning, so I responded. There was no more contact after that. But I mean, the guy's he's running.
He's busy, yeah, for sure.
I just thanked him, told him I was very grateful for what he's doing, and I asked him to thank the team member specifically who showed him my video, and I just said, it really, really means a lot to me, and keep making this amazing game, because it's this game is. I've really been thinking, I want to make a full video, but I'm still formulating my thoughts, because I really want to talk about the beauty of this game. like just everything about it, not just the art, but even the way that it's played and how the combat chain lays out, and the thought process that goes behind playing. And it's something I think I'm going to have to take quite a while to formulate, a proper structure to a video, because
Yep.
sometimes I start videos or I get ideas and I try to make a video, and then I find out I just don't have it planned out enough in my head, so I can't like talk about it succinctly, and it's just kind of all over the place and not very, it's just disjointed, and ideas aren't really connected that well. So
I get that. I've been there. No, I get it. You want to invest the right amount of time and maybe do additional research and take a couple takes and just even let it marinate in the back of your head before you release the content. That's just right. And yeah, you were just mentioning the beauty of the game. It just reminded me of something that I talked about to a lot of my collector friends. I basically, in one of my earliest videos, I said that Flesh and Blood reminded me, it took me back to the 90s or the early 90s when, like, I played Street Fighter. I don't know if you ever played Street Fighter or Street Fighter 2 or Turbo or Championship Edition or Alpha or 4.
But I know of them. I know what they are.
Okay. So it was a big game back right when Magic had just come out, and like I was like, oh, Dorinthia reminds me of Chun-Li, Katsu reminds me of Ryu. He's like the ninja Asian leading man, and then Bravo's like Guile. And I was like, that's just so elegant, but they're not really that character. They don't really need to bite off anything. They've got their own backstory, they've got their own lore, they've got their own personas, and every single hero comes equipped with his, it's his standalone story, and they're unique. They remind me of, and they might allude to, or they might look like, they might share the characteristics, but LSS took all the time, probably hundreds of hours, to create every single character. Just like James said on the pre-release of Monarch, he was like, Chain has been on my mind for like 7 or 8 years before he released it. That story of Chain and that whole look, that took almost a decade to come to fruition, meaning that's how deep their thought process is. Meanwhile, conversely, flip it to another game, they're coming out with a secret layer for Street Fighter, which literally has Chun-Li and Ryu and Ken, and I mean, it's such a cop-out. It has nothing to do with the actual game. It's so disjointed from the 30 years of rich history that MTG has, and
that's actually what drove me out of Magic ultimately. I don't like the secret layers. I didn't like the direction it was going. Magic is no longer the game that I fell in love with. Like when I think of returning to it, I think of when I was really into it, like 2014, 15, playing Commander with my friends, and it was just, like we could even play some really powerful stuff, but it wasn't as bad as it is now. Like it, not only have I found that Magic's gotten less fun to play over the years, but it's just with the company greed going up, it feels like every time I play Magic, there's just this bad aura hanging around it. Like I just know like something feels off, because when you, especially because I watched a ton of YouTube content on Magic when I played it, so it was like, everybody was always, by the end of it, before I quit, was always in kind of a bad mood. It just, everybody felt sour about what was going on, and it just, the whole mood of Magic just feels so much worse than it used to be. And I really feel for people like you or like Rudy, where I'm assuming that you played Magic. I think you said you got back to collecting Magic, which you used to.
I did very competitively back in the 90s.
So like I can only imagine how awful it is. Like I know Rudy actually made a video talking about how Magic's changed, and he was clearly coming to terms, and like you could tell it was eating him up inside, because it's like you guys have loved this game for 3 decades, and then watching it just be massacred for corporate greed and just completely taken, having the reason that it bugs me so much is it's like Hasbro and Wizards, they took the soul out of Magic and just ripped it out, and they've just left it with this empty husk. Whereas you turn to Flesh and Blood, and even though LSS has made mistakes, which I would actually like to argue, if I could just quickly right here.
Please do.
I thought about talking about this in a video, but this is easier to say now. I feel like you mentioned at one point how James White looks very tired all the time, and how he's running a company, and how they're still under lockdown, and New Zealand's lockdown, I don't know if anybody's looked at it, it's insane. There was somebody who got arrested for trying to bring KFC into a lockdown area. Like it's above and beyond. Sorry.
I'm not trying to be disrespectful. That's pretty crazy though. That's
another
level.
could you imagine dealing with that while trying to make this global game? Like the amount of restrictions on their travel, like I can just imagine the stress. So when you see things like the Duskblade, I was actually kind of able to be like, you know what, like and especially with how quickly this game grew, like there was no way that the company was ready for the sudden demand of work that is involved. And I feel like a lot of people don't notice that. They're very easily able to get mad at LSS, but it's like, you know, if they're still if we have another year and they expand the company and they're still making these same mistakes, then we've got a problem.
Yeah.
Right now, well, the company's probably way too small, you know, because it takes a long time to hire people and vet people and get new people on board for your company. So it's not like, oh, we have this huge demand in money, now we'll just hire 10 people and there we're good to go. It's like it's a much more complex process than that. And I'm sure
people in that country, they're not even able to leave their homes in some cases. And I think James, when he sent the Thanksgiving video, it's like 2 weeks after that now, but he was already on week 14 of lockdown, like 14 weeks straight. I think New York was under lockdown for like 9 or 10, New York City, but like 14 weeks, that's a lot. And that can really mess with your, you know, your mental health, and it can really deteriorate you. And, you know, I mean, James is a strong guy. He's a really intelligent guy, but he's got a whole team and they're all locked down at home. There's a limit to how much you can do, right?
Oh yeah, it's a pretty awful situation over there, honestly. Like I do pay attention to kind of what's going on around the world, and it's actually like terrifyingly authoritarian. It's like it's above and beyond measures to keep people safe. Like, I'm sorry, but when you're arresting somebody for bringing takeout into a section of the city, I think we can agree, like you're probably going a little too far with this. It's
a little crazy.
It's questionable whether these measures are actually to keep people healthy or whether it's about control, because like it's a level of insanity, you know, unparalleled in the modern world.
Yep. And to get the focus off of LSS, the publisher, like the publisher can do almost no wrong, in my opinion, because they came out with the game. They birthed this game. You're talking about the game. If you didn't like it, stop playing the game. Don't complain about it. Like, that's like people these days, all they want to do is just whine or complain. Oh, they need to do this. They need to do that. They need to make things cheap. Oh no, now they need to make things very scarce and expensive. It's like they're not trying to keep everybody happy. They're trying to execute upon their game plan. If you like it, stay on the boat. If you don't like it, you know, next stop is in 5 seconds, get off on your right. And that's it. Like, people are saying, oh, LSS needs to read this and do this. They need to do that. They need to print, you know, unlimited for an unlimited amount of time. Oh, why did they print so much Tales of Aria? Why do they print this? It's like, guys, I mean, even right now, Tales of Aria has been out for, what, 60 days, 70 days? Maybe, just maybe, they printed enough so that people could consume first edition for 6 months. If there's, you know, 5,000 boxes sitting around in like a year from now, and you know, then that might be a problem. Then they might have hit their marks off. And I also heard that it was due to rampant, just about TOA for a minute, it was due to rampant hyper speculation on the retail level, like retail business owners, LGS owners being investors and charging $650 a box of Monarch, and then hoarding it all, saving it, and then trickling it out at that price that got LSS metrics off. So in that sense, like I didn't get outraged. I paid $500 for some of my Monarch boxes, and that's okay, you know, lesson learned. But in that case, I actually took a couple more steps. I took a step back. I said, let's see what's going on in the market. Let's dig and find out what's the actual cause for this. It had nothing to do with the publisher itself, not even the distributors. It had to do with hoarders and mostly, you know, a lot of LGS owners that were turned speculators. I mean, not the good ones, not the ones selling at MAP and supporting their community, but there were a couple that held back hundreds, if not thousands, of boxes, and they were trying to price fix a little bit, you know?
Yep.
So...
yeah, you see that a lot in Canada, actually. Like, our prices are typically higher than the States. It's insane for Magic. Like, a box of Magic in America is like, what, $100? Whereas, like, a booster box here is about $170. Wow. And the dollar's not, like, that bad, but there's tariffs and all these other taxes coming over the border. Like, Flesh and Blood boxes are about $105. But I remember buying even Tales of Aria for $180. Is first edition typically, like, MSRP a little higher than Unlimited? because I know for Everfest Carnival it says their MSRP is about 130, I think now.
Okay.
Which is still like, that's still fine, and I'm fine with that, especially for first edition. I don't mind spending a little bit more for first edition because it is that collector's value. It does have the cold foils, which I can imagine, even though there's not many, it's still like probably a pretty expensive foiling process.
Yep.
And then having to distribute them amongst the packs. I mean, I have no idea how any of that works. Obviously, I'm a YouTuber, I don't work at a card making plant, I guess, or
of course,
printing
press.
Yep.
Yep.
But I personally, I'm okay spending a little bit more on first edition.
Mm-hmm.
But 180, $50 more than it needs to be. Or like you said with Monarch, I think it peaked here at like $750 Canadian.
Okay.
Like that was, and that's just like, that's insane for a box. I mean, I'll spend $750 on a box of Monarch in like 4 or 5 years, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, maybe sooner than that, but it's got to be a few years out of print before you're willing to spend that much. Like,
not the day it hits the shelves. That
was an insane time, and especially as myself and so many others got involved in the game at that time, it was kind of a nightmare. I mean, I imagine it was a nightmare for LSS, and I think that's why they rushed Monarch Unlimited out the doors, because they're like, oh my god, all these new players, and they can't get a hold of the new set, and that feels really bad. So they're just, I think they were saved by the Blitz decks then, though, because it was so easy if you were new. For my friends and I, we just bought the Blitz decks, and then there we at least got to play some of the new heroes without having to spend all the money for the first edition boxes.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned something quite funny, and at least from my perspective, because I started well after the release of Crucible, I don't actually know what first edition boxes are supposed to be priced at. Like, in my paradigm, I when I got in, Crucible was already close to $180, $200 a box when I just started collecting and opening WTR Alpha, and then the only set after that is Monarch, right? And then the set after that is TOA. So I don't know what's right. I wish that the stores, the LGSs that have the product, they could be like, you know what? Let's just keep it classy. Let's release it at 90 to 110 US. If it gets high in demand and low in supply, let's ratchet it up a little bit and go with the flow. Not, oh, you know what? It's 500. Oh, that last set that was 500 didn't work out that well. Let's try 250 this time. Let's see how many fish we could get on the hook that way. How many suckers are willing to come in here and assassinate their money early on. Hopefully, moving forward for things like Everfest and beyond, they can keep it classy. They could keep it in that 90 to 110 range. And I'm hearing that. I'm hearing that a lot. I think they learned from their mistakes from the past 2 sets, and things are going to look a little more reasonable for Everfest. Are you hearing similar things on your side?
I haven't heard a whole lot about it, but I do think that's the sentiment. I am a little worried because I'm hoping that they print enough of it at the start, because I think the demand for Everfest is going to be through the roof. Mm-hmm. It seems like everybody's very, very hyped for this set, like all the actual players. So I'm hoping that we don't also get the people who just want to buy and then flip it really quickly involved, because, and I'm glad that the past couple sets, kind of tanking, have kicked all those people to the curb. They've all kind of dumped the game and left, because I don't want to see the demand be higher than the supply and then the prices be really high for Everfest. Partly because I plan on buying at least a couple cases for myself, because I'm super excited. I love supplementary sets, and I think that's kind of a fan favorite set for most people too.
Okay.
So I do. But I think we'll be all right. I would like to see it be a reasonable price, like 130 Canadian for me. That's still cheaper than a Magic box. I'm good with that. I'll spend that much. I spent more for Tales of Aria Unlimited or first edition. So,
please do reach out if you don't get enough Everfest at what you're looking for. And speaking of that set, what about the content of the set? What about the what's contained within the set? And I don't know if any other content creators have talked about it yet. Do you think Everfest is too early for PvE elements, or do you think there will be some setup for PvE? Because we know it's coming, we just don't know when. I'm guessing it has to be in 2022. They can't delay it any more than year 3, right?
I think a lot of people have talked about this. I think I actually made I made an Everfest kind of prediction video, or like let's talk about it.
Okay.
And it was I was editing it as they announced more information about Everfest. So I remember like I put out a video, and even in the video I mentioned I'm like, hey, the video coming out tomorrow might have a couple things wrong because I
Mm-hmm.
was predicting stuff before then they just announced some info. Um, I see. I'm not sure actually though now, because I know some people are speculating, and I'm still wondering if that question set in quarter 2 of next year is going to be PVE.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of hope. I've been trying to push like a fan made PVE, and but I would love for LSS to release their actual system, because I mean that's going to be the most widely accessible for players, and it's going to be. I think it's going to be huge. The
Mm-hmm.
fact that really there's no other game that has it, and it's not something I think Magic can even implement, because like Magic is just such a broken game. You just go infinite, beat the boss, and that's it, you know.
Yep.
Whereas in Flesh and Blood, like the system is so tight and perfect that you know it just feels perfect for PVE.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember on their website they said they designed Everfest with Classic Instructed in mind. So I
Okay.
wonder. I do think we might see a couple things like cards like Gorganian Tome and Coax of Commotion from Crew definitely were made for PvE in mind. I mean, they benefit the players, you know, if they're on a team. So I can see us getting a couple more things for that. But yeah, I don't know. I hope they set up for PvE. I would really like them to.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I think my moment of clarity that PVE has to be coming was definitely. I mean, I saw the tome. I saw the coax. I thought that at least the coax and the tome were more for like ultimate pit fight or something commander esque.
Yeah.
But once I saw the Great Library of Solana, like immediately, like the Final Fantasy tunes, and then the party based
Yeah.
system, and then the INT buff. I was like, oh crap, this is exactly what it's gonna be, and that's what just like blew it out completely for me. So, yeah, I'm just
Same
looking
with
forward to it. I'm looking forward to how that's going to just innovate the game, because I hear right now, I mean, I read the Facebook groups and whatnot, and it seems everybody's saying that the game's gotten a little too uh, too skewed towards competitive, like a competitive format and a competitive game, and it's too competitive. It's not casual enough, and that hole is growing wider and wider, because we're looking towards what, the worlds, and then the 2022 organized play schedule, and I think it's there. I think organized play wise, they're set. Like
Oh yeah.
2021 just paved the way for a successful organized play schedule for many years to come, but they need to do something a little more casual.
Yeah, I think the casual side, and this is, well, I am a casual player. I pretty much almost exclusively play either the Overlord PVE, which is the fan made PVE, or
Hmm.
Ultimate Pit Fight. Like that's 99.99% of what I play.
Oh, really?
I actually was playing Ultimate Pit Fight with some friends earlier,
Okay.
and I can confirm that Coax of Commotion is a very fun card to play in that format.
Hmm.
But I do think that they really got to work on getting more casual people in, because a majority of players in a game are going to be casual, and then a smaller percentage of the players are going to be competitive, and an even smaller percentage of the people who are competitive are going to compete at bigger events, and then an even smaller percentage of those are actually going to be good enough to win multiple events, to be the best. So
Yep.
it's just with such a small amount of people who are even able to be the best, you're going to see this chain reaction where you're going to have most of the players just be normal people. They might go to their LGS and just play here or there. They're going to sit down with friends like I do and just jam in a bunch of games. And that's not saying that people can't get very good at their casual formats. Like I used to play Commander and Magic, and I got pretty damn good at playing Commander, because you
Hmm.
play something for 10 years, you're going to build the skills required. And I personally like multiplayer better anyways, because I like to make deals or play kind of politically, and play, kind of a psychology game, especially with my friends, because I know, kind of their personality type, so I can play off that and kind of help me edge towards a win.
Okay.
But, and another thing I love about Flesh and Blood, though, is even if you're really, really good at the game and better than everybody else in multiplayer, if you got two people that can attack you at once, even if you're the best and you have the best deck, all the legendaries, like you're not fighting off two people at once. That's like even if they're playing janky decks, like it's so hard because you're so limited on resources in this game.
Of course.
And I think they can do something spectacular with casual. I think ultimately, as much as I love Ultimate Pit Fight, I think PvE is going to be the big thing
Mm-hmm.
because like Commander already exists, right? It's already a huge juggernaut, and I do think we'll see a lot of Commander players coming over to Flesh and Blood and playing Ultimate Pit Fight. But PvE again, like Magic doesn't have PvE. They've got Arch Enemy, but nobody really plays that or cares for it that much.
Okay.
Whereas Flesh and Blood, the way the system is just built, it's perfect for players versus environment, for boss battles, for raid systems and all that kind
Raid
of stuff.
systems,
So
exactly. Yeah. You've got different classes or jobs and
yeah,
specializations, and some people can attack. Some people are better at defending or tanking,
exactly.
spell casting. It's going to be amazing. I don't
Yeah.
know what it's going to look like, but I like listening to different speculations. But I really just can't wait. Really can't wait. So yeah, what else have you viewed in these recent months? And it's a lull. What do you see ahead? What do you see that will get us out of the lull?
I think part of it right now is we're moving into the holiday season. So people like even myself, like with Christmas coming around the corner, it's like I'm spending more time shopping, trying to see family, get things in order. When when your life gets busier, you start to, it gets harder and harder to actually maintain everything too. And I can imagine as a CEO, you probably understand that all too well.
Yep.
You get too much on your plate and things just start to fall apart because it's just too much.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to be very careful on how like maintaining a schedule and getting everything done that you need to. Um, and so I think people are just busy right now. I think people, especially because we're in between sets, and like I just said, most of the people who play aren't like hyper competitive. They might want to be better, and so they'll watch like competitive content in order to learn from it. But I ultimately think most people are just, they go to their local game store every once in a while, and they'll play some games, and they're not really looking to be the next top player. So when there's a lull in between sets, they might just drift off and not pay that much attention. So I think when January rolls around and we start seeing like the spoiler season for Everfest as it gets closer to that set, and as I think once January hits, everybody's got way more free time because the whole holiday fiasco is over, and now everybody's exhausted and nobody wants to go anywhere. And I think it's just a matter of like in the next month we'll probably see things start to tick up again for the game.
Okay.
And I mean, ultimately, the game itself seems to be doing fine. I think it's more just like the views on YouTube. Like it just seems like the community interaction is just a little bit less than it was. And again, I think it's just as in between sets, there's less people who are watching content on Flesh and Blood, because if you've got nothing new to add to your decks and you're just kind of playing the same thing, and maybe you're not playing every single day or every week,
Yeah.
more and more people are gonna float away, and then they'll come back when it's
Oh, you're
thing.
absolutely right. There's no huge competitive tent pole that people are looking towards, and in the immediate 30 to 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no reason to tweak the deck. I guess right now, what is it? Briar Cheerios reign supreme. What Tarek Patel played and Briar, and then it's Runeblade, and that whole meme that was going on for a while. Just to direct the conversation a little bit, I was kind of alluding towards maybe January. Like, what do you think about the print run numbers? What are your thoughts on that? Because
I'll be honest, I didn't even realize January is when we're expecting them. I'm assuming Monarch and possibly Tails. Or do they not announce like what they just say? Hey, we're going to give some more print run numbers.
I don't think they specifically outlined it in the past, if I remember correctly, because I always think about this like from a historical chronological perspective, and I try to look at it big picture. I think it was something like January 26th or something like that, either January 26th or early February of this year, where it landed. They just dropped, what was it, 400,000 packs for WTR, 400,000 packs for Arcane Rising, which was 16,667 boxes, and then 900,000 packs for Crucible of War, which was 37.5 thousand boxes. And that's where people started, figuring out the boxes, because it was like, okay, so if Crucible of War is 2.33 times the print run of WTR and Arcane, then Monarch ... right? Have you ever had any thoughts about the actual print run of these past two sets, or talked to any colleagues in your neck of the woods?
I haven't really talked too much about it. I actually, I guess then, yeah, I didn't realize the print runs had come out in January.
Hey, I didn't say it. Don't hold me to it. I'm just saying,
Yeah, no, no.
historically
Yeah.
speaking.
No. Yeah, you're probably right. They'll probably try to do like a yearly thing. That seems to make the most sense. If they're going to release numbers, you might as well make it consistent when you release them, because then people know when to expect them. It kind of keeps the market from going all crazy. People, can kind of predict a little bit better where the money is going to be going. Or like they at least can predict that something's going to happen around this time, rather than just randomly coming out of nowhere. Because that's what happened last time. It came out of nowhere, and suddenly the game got unbelievably expensive, and it's again, it caused the whole Monarch fiasco. So I definitely, I don't think it's silly to say that Monarch and Tails were probably higher than the other two sets.
Of course, that's given. Yeah,
especially after the boom. I would imagine Tails is maybe a kind of significantly higher than Monarch, just so they could avoid what happened with Monarch. Because I don't know, I feel like LSS was probably pretty pissed at what happened with Monarch, if I'm being honest. Because like, you're trying to sell this game to new people, you just got a bunch of people into the game, and all of a sudden all these stores are trying to hold your product and sell it for like 7 times what it's actually worth.
Yeah, trickle it out, manipulate the prices of the sealed product.
And so I feel like with Tails, they're just like, no, we're not doing that again. So they probably printed a fair amount of it, especially since people can still get it. And I still believe that, give it like 10 years, this stuff will be, even with how much more is printed, like compared to how big the game will be in 10 years, like this amount will be tiny. If you still have sealed boxes, you're going to have something worth money in the future. So I still definitely believe that. But I think they've done a good job kind of deterring stores from doing that again. And hopefully when we see the print runs, I would love to see Monarch First Edition. I do have a sealed case of it. That was like my first move in actually investing in the game. I don't have very much product. I don't have I'm not the CEO of a very successful company. The amount that I'm able to put into it is much smaller than some other people in this community. But the way I look at it, it's like, hey, it's still better than nothing. Having like a case of something is still better than not having any in 5 years when I want to look back at when I got into the game. So yeah, I think the print runs, I definitely think Monarch, I don't know, it'd be nice to see Monarch get the notice that it deserves, because I think Monarch is a very underrated set. People are pretty bitter from first edition or from the limited release, but I think I said Monarch's still probably my favorite set.
Really? Okay. Yeah. I won't follow you there on Monarch being my favorite set, but I do agree with you that it's a very underappreciated set. I'm definitely a fan of WTR Alpha because it has all the elements of collectability. It's got the misprinted pink strips. It's got my favorite hero, Dorinthebe, who I took into battle, and I got crushed, like curb stomped every single game, but I still appreciate the hero, although she's not viable. Everfest, we need you to save the warrior, Everfest.
I hope so, because I really like Dorinthia too.
Yep.